Welcome to Studio J. My name is Chris. I am with Illiterate Light. Jake Cochran, Jeff Gorman, thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Where are you guys from?
We are from Harrisonburg, Virginia. It's a small college town in the Shenandoah Valley.
Yeah.
Jake grew up in Northern Virginia and Alexandria, and I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and we met there in 2010 and started playing music. So that's been home for us over the last 10 years. Jake now lives in Nashville, but Central Virginia is still really our home base.
Yeah, that's home.
And when you got together and started making music, your bassist left after 6 months.
Yep.
And you said, so what? Watch this. I'll play with my feet.
Yeah, it was certainly not something we expected, but we decided to just roll with it. And Jake and I had been playing in a handful of bands, and we just kind of kept whittling it down. And at some point, we realized that he and I had such a strong musical connection. Yeah. And we walked into the local gear shop and found this synthesizer that you could play with your feet. And we love the White Stripes and the Black Keys, but we wanted to do something different, and we wanted to find a way to cover the bass. And so we bought that and started tap dancing with it, and that's how we produce the bass that we play live.
Yeah, the sound is so full. It sounds like there's 4 or 5 people in the band, but it's just the two of you. And Jake, you're playing drums that are upright?
Yeah,
is that correct?
So I stand up when I play. It's a regular drum kit, all the same pieces that a normal drummer would play, but I've just gotten taller stands and rearranged it a little bit so that it fits what makes sense for having 1 foot planted and 1 foot on the kick drum.
Was that always the intention, or did that evolve?
It was the same moment of evolution where we decided that Jeff could play bass with 1 foot with that synthesizer, and it was kind of like, well, I need to sort of pull my drum set to the front of stage and mirror him. We need to have interaction. If there's just going to be 2 of us, it felt weird having me in the back trying to sing harmonies and make eye contact with Jeff. And so yeah, the standing thing was kind of just like, I'm going to start trying stuff until something works. And pretty immediately we did that, and I was like, this is cool.
That's pretty cool. Has it ever been a problem for you when you're playing out? Has there ever been a scenario where you're like, man, that's not
a few too many beers in any of us, and it's a big problem, which we're pretty careful about beforehand. Like,
it keeps us sober. I'll be honest. Like there's no going out on stage not in the wrong state of mind. We're really. I mean, it's like an athletic event.
Yeah.
But in the early days, now. Jeff here playing guitar and bass with my feet, I feel really comfortable, and I can make eye contact with the crowd and really let loose and headbang and stuff like that. But in the early days, I was it was like a shoegaze thing in a literal sense. I was staring at my feet because I was playing and doing it in such a different way. And so when Jake came to the front, it allowed me a little bit of space to actually focus on that other instrument. And, he wasn't tucked away in the back, and there was this whole new energy right in the front of the stage.
Right.
And so now that I'm able to actually look up and make eye contact with people, now we're doubling down, and there's loads of energy.
And speaking of audience participation, one of the things I think is really cool is you did a series of shows powered by bicycles.
Yep.
Can you explain this whole thing to us? Because that just sounds like insanity.
Yeah, so it's actually really pretty simple. We 10 or so years ago, we had an experience with some friends where we actually built a little generator stand that you could put a bicycle on, and somebody could pedal, and it would spin another wheel, and that could go and through some circuitry power one speaker. And so we found a company out in California called Rock the Bike that builds these professionally, and we started buying them right before the pandemic, trying to build up towards this idea of like how big of a show could we power? What could we tour and bring this with us? Just kind of, Jeff and I are definitely dreamers, and when it comes to how we understand and use energy, the thing that was so cool to us the first time we did the bike power was that there was such a direct connection. I'm the one pedaling to make this sound happen, and that changed the way I thought about electricity. And it, like, I can feel, I can feel it going through my body and coming out of the thing. So really, we're just looking for a way to share that experience, kind of bring people into what we're doing. We have the bikes and the generators with us on this tour, and we're finding little pop-ups to do here and there. Yeah.
So for folks that come out on Wednesday night at Cat's Cradle, we are going to have a couple people from the crowd powering a portion of the show. There's just going to be a few songs that we play that are bike powered, but we don't want to show our cards too much right now, so you have to come out and experience it for yourselves. But of the couple hundred people that come out that night, 2 or 4 will have a moment where they're right up there with us making the show happen.
That's going to be an amazing feeling for a fan to be able to watch you pedal and know that they are the power behind the music they're getting back and receiving from you.
Totally.
That's amazing.
It gives us a real jolt of energy, and it's just really fun, and it's a way for us to start a bigger conversation, which is the question that we ask ourselves all the time: what's the world going to look like in 30 years?
Yeah.
What's it going to be like to be a touring artist in 30 years? And we don't expect everybody out there to power all of their home appliances by bicycle or anything like that, but we want to start the conversation and have a good time while we do it, and have music be the centerpiece of it.
You got together in 2015. It's been 7 years now. What's been the biggest surprise for the two of you?
Outside of the pandemic,
I want to hit out of nowhere a little bit.
Man, what has been the biggest surprise for us?
Maybe the most recent thing for me is so right before the pandemic, I had moved to Nashville, and we had just put out our first album, and so the pandemic did hit and kind of changed and slowed us down in a way.
Yeah.
But I guess it's not a surprise. It's more of just the way things work. Pushing through the pandemic, Jeff and I getting ready to release our next album, which we're self-releasing in partnership with 30 Tigers, which is this incredible label that we're just so happy to be working with out of Nashville. And really, it's more of the kind of like the slow grind that it takes to stay at this thing.
Right.
I don't know. Is that?
That's a good way of putting it. I mean, I feel like for us, for anybody that's been tracking with us, it was almost like 2015 to 2018 was just this very much organic DIY sort of grind and finding our sound and booking everything ourselves and all of the hard work that comes into just living on the road. And then there was like this rocket ship that was taking off, and it just kind of went up real fast, and then the world exploded, and then it didn't go down, but it just kind of sat there. The surprise for me has just been discovering our own resiliency and discovering that in the midst of the world exploding and our first record not really getting, for us to be able to share it with people the way that we wanted to, that we're still just as creative and passionate as ever, and that we've got a whole new record that's just showing the growth that we undertook throughout the last 2 years.
Yeah. And this new album coming out in January of next year, right?
That's right.
The new single, Light Me Up, just amazing.
Thank
you.
you.
Can you talk a little bit about the rest of the album?
Yeah, the second song, Heaven Bends, is coming out. We always do this. We always just jump the gun on like time to release. I don't know when we can say what.
Yeah.
But in October we have another song, Heaven Bends, coming out, and that's going to showcase a little bit more of even like the synthesizer and keyboard realm that we were able to explore in the studio for this new record. The album's very heavy and very, very dark. Our live show has always been really heavy and energetic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to capture that in the studio. I feel like on this record, we really dialed that in, and we said, okay, cool. Like, we want the guitars to be massive. We love sonic drum changes. And so there were times throughout the record, like for the next song that's coming out, actually for both Light Me Up and Heaven Bends, there's a complete scene change in the song. In the bridge of Heaven Bends, it was recorded in a totally different location than the rest of the song. And I'm sorry, that was for Light Me Up. And for Heaven Bends, the second half of the song was recorded in another location, and we were conscious of that when we were doing it. But we're smashing these two worlds together and trying to find harmony between them. I think a lot of this record is basically about that concept. So, but it's really, really heavy, very fun music, very stimulating, a lot of twists and turns, heavy and dark.
Why is it heavy and dark?
Because life is heavy and dark.
This is true.
I think it was a lot of, throughout the pandemic, there was just the weight of the world. There was that. There was personal family, my dad passing away in December of 2020 after about about a 10-year battle with a neurodegenerative disease. And so just feeling the weight of that for all those years and then finally releasing it into this record.
Yeah.
It's a big cathartic release for us.
Yeah.
And I think that both Jake and I are pretty hopeful people, but in our art, that's where you just let your demons out, and that's where you get to scream, you know?
Sure.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, and people will wind up interpreting things for themselves based on their own situations that they're in, finding their own way to connect.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a literal way or in a creative way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope so.
It's a lot of the catharsis of it, a lot of the like, get it out and share it with somebody and come to our show and do that together. You know, that's our, it's not like screamo, emo, super sad, but it has a weight to it.
Yeah. Jake and Jeff, Illiterate Light, thank you so much for stopping by Studio J. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.